everyone. Today we are going to make a chocolate zucchini cake. I know what you're thinking, chocolate, zucchini, does it actually go together? It does. So we're going to start with the zucchini. And if you've never had zucchini, it's kind of watery. I believe it is related to pumpkin, possibly. Maybe it's just squash. Cut off the end, and then you're going to get a box grater, like you would grate cheese on. If you have a food processor, use the grate option on the food processor, because that's easier. But if you don't, just grab the box grater, use the big end, because we want nice big chunks of zucchini. You could use the fine end, but I like big chunks of zucchini. And just go back and forth like you would cheese. You will most likely only use half of the zucchini because we're only needing 2 cups. Yes, it's a little messy. That's okay. Okay, our zucchini is grated and I have it on a paper towel so some of the water can drain out. In this bowl, I have 1 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, and I'm going to add a cup of sunflower seed oil to it. Now, if you don't have sunflower seed oil, you can use canola oil, you can use vegetable oil, you could use olive oil, you can use safflower seed oil. But I like sunflower oil. So I'm just gently going to whisk it together, and then I'm going to add my eggs. I like this cake because you don't need to use an electric mixer and you don't have to wait for butter to soften, because I'm very impatient. I don't like waiting for butter to soften. So we're going to add in the other egg, whisk it together quickly. And you want to make sure it's nice and incorporated. You don't want to see any hints of yellow left. Go ahead and do the second egg. Get it in there, and all you need is a whisk. If you do have an electric mixer, by all means use an electric mixer, but a whisk is a good workout. Now, once you have the eggs mixed in, you are going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And remember, pour over something, because if you're like me, I have a tendency to make a mess. And then we're just going to quickly mix it together. Now, I have already mixed up the dry ingredients, the flour, the baking soda, the baking powder. Did this recipe call for salt? No, it didn't. Okay, good. Thought I might have left something out. And so the dry ingredients are flour and unsweetened cocoa powder, baking soda, baking powder, cinnamon, and cloves. I'll have the exact measurements in the recipe. So you're going to put in half of the dry ingredients. And when you're making a cake or even cookies, it's always best to mix the dry ingredients beforehand. And I'm going to gently whisk it together. You do not want to beat the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients, because then you'll end up with a very tough cake. Now I'm going to add in, I have half a cup of sour milk. Sour milk, if you have buttermilk, use buttermilk. I didn't have buttermilk, so this is half a teaspoon of white vinegar and half a cup of milk. So I'm going to pour half of it in, and then I'm going to gently whisk it together. The dough is very stiff. You don't want to whisk quickly, because then you will end up with milk everywhere. And no one wants that. I try very hard not to be a messy baker. So whisk it until it is combined. Once the dough is nice, or the batter I should say, is nice and loose, add in the rest of the dry ingredients. Now this cake is good plain, or it is excellent with a cream cheese frosting. Today we are actually just going to make it plain, but if you were making it in a rectangular pan, I would definitely recommend a cream cheese frosting. You can use it from a can, or you can make your own. I recommend making your own. Now the dough, you see, has gotten very stiff. So I'm just gently whisking it together until it is mostly combined, and then I will add in the rest of the milk to loosen it up. And you can see at the bottom, it's a little chunky, and that's from the vinegar. The vinegar stiffens the milk. So like I said, you can use, and if you don't have vinegar, half a teaspoon of lemon juice works just fine. So we're just going to continue gently whisking. You can see I have like a big ball of dough here. But as the milk works into the batter, it will all loosen up. And we've got it. So just shake your whisk off. And that's pretty good. Now we are going to add in the zucchini, and I have a bit more than 2 cups, but I like a lot of zucchini in my cake. So we're going to just pour it off the paper towel, and you can see how the paper towel was damp because it was absorbing the water. And then I have half a cup of mini chocolate chips to add in because it's a chocolate zucchini cake. When you are baking a cake, it is always best to use mini chocolate chips because they spread evenly in the batter and they don't sink to the bottom. I don't like it when you're eating cake and you can't find the chocolate chips because they're all at the bottom of the cake. So you're just gonna take no more whisk, you just have a spatula, and you are gently stirring the zucchini and the chocolate chips in because you want to have it all nicely combined. And remember, if you over stir it, you're going to end up with a very heavy cake and it won't taste good. So we are going to make a bundt cake today because I think bundt cakes are pretty. You want to make sure you have sprayed your bundt pan with lots of cooking spray so it doesn't stick. If you do not have a bundt pan, you could use 2 9-inch round pans. You could also use, as I said, a big 9x13 rectangular pan. And if you make the 2 round cakes, again, cream cheese frosting, or the 9x13, also cream cheese frosting. But because this is in a bundt pan, I am just going to sprinkle it with powdered sugar when it comes out of the oven. So make sure you get it all in there. And then you have to spread it around so the cake is level because you do not want a lopsided bundt cake. I also like to give it a couple slams on the counter, gets the air bubbles out. Cake is gonna look like this. It will bake for an hour at about 325 degrees. Our cake is done. It has been cooling in the pan for 20 minutes. Now, the trick with a bundt cake is you have to give it time to cool, but for it to come out of the pan, it still has to be warm. So I'm going to take a butter knife, and I'm just going to gently ease it around the cake. And bundt cakes are tricky. Sometimes they will come out perfect, and other times they won't. And the cake is done. It's just a little gooey. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to flip it over and oh, look at that. Perfect first try. It is a little lopsided. I didn't spread it evenly enough. That's okay, it's still going to taste good. You can see the steam. I don't know if you can see the steam rising off of it. But as soon as the cake is completely cool, I will sprinkle it with powdered sugar and we will serve it up.